Between Bhutan and Bangladesh in northeast India is the state of Meghalaya, a place of great natural beauty and ecological importance. A place where it is not unusual to meet an elephant on your way to work. A place where choices must be made concerning traditional and modern ways of life. Here in this remote, hilly tribal region, one ethnic group, the Garo, have begun to show how important rural communities are when they take the lead in mitigating and adapting to climate change. The Garo Hills presents a verdant landscape, blessed with abundant water, fertile soils, and a benign climate. Home to more than 1 million people. The region is also one of the few remaining areas where it is possible to find top predators, leopards, elephants, and biodiversity of all kinds.
Ya selvalgri songni asong ya ko jengo ambiat trima akcham pakachamram ino songdong acha jengo ya songni mandirang ya songni songnok keparap anchi boli oni mang iko mania presi mania changan chi nuno thotsa Tadi rabar abai songdap kerkerti donen tadi sejadi bagnaro. Taudi mani jadok, taudi mana songsar kendong jadok na, Kristen orang ni pun manja.
These villagers' ancestors have lived in and preserved these forests for thousands of years. Their traditional religion worshiped the spirits in all living things. Their legends reinforced a sense of wonder and awe about the forest. Generation after generation have loved the beauty of the natural environment and realized that it provided their food, their water, their shelter, everything that they needed in their lives.
Kungko borong dona ni di cengade yara mek panba tura tahun kemek ni an cibis kong ani kemen ada tak urut demo borong borong grede culi jaya hani masin cenga songgem meli ya macukong songprot cengi adok ni borong damsa ko rizap taki dona ni cenga songgem meli in dona ha maina tak urut de cenga borong borong ko rakian era 지릉 집이 스나 발바랑나 알 자송니 자송난 감삿 그뽕나 바 동안이 자 송감가 늑삼수에 야고도나.
One of their neighbors is especially appreciative. Elephants are indigenous to this region. This is perfect elephant habitat. The Garo Hills has well over 1,000 elephants, one of the highest concentrations of wild elephants in India. To have such a high density of megafauna is relatively rare in modern times and suggests a natural system of very high ecological function.
We consider elephants to be architects of the habitat. They change the habitat by their feeding, by their just movement. They open new paths for other animals to follow, and by their dung. There's a number of animals, insects and others that survive on elephant bolus, on the dung.
Elephants and people have coexisted in the Garo Hills for as long as anyone can remember, and both are integral parts of the natural system here. For the people, yet another symbol of the health and wealth of the region's ecology has been the existence of another primate in the forest, the Huluk gibbon.
요 맛부릉을 아키야 되면은 느껴 와 마이나 맛부릉 동작엔 중어대 아 송어바 무큼라 송바 동작 흐르 아키요 블롱에 남그네 와 마이나 흐르 마크린 그바 동작 칼레스 강원이 만디랑 강원이 잘라 니베스 강원이 잘라바 만디랑 강알봉자 원 맛부릉 블롱에 남그네 와아 송나 잣나 무큼라 송바 동아.
There is sufficient data to state that a clear trend exists showing a marked decrease in the number of gibbons in the forest.
The gibbon population throughout India is declining at a very alarming rate. In the last 3-4 decades, nearly 75% decline in gibbon population has been reported. Through numerous surveys, reports, and repeated studies, it has been found that the gibbon population in Garo Hills is also declining, perhaps not at the same rate as the rest of the country, but definitely it's very critical and it is very detrimental for the survival of the gibbons.
The fact that the local people revere the animal suggests that this is a fairly reliable indicator that the ecosystem is deteriorating. Traditionally, the type of agriculture practiced here has been to slash and burn the hillsides, known as jum cultivation.
The method of juming is basically just slash during the winter season and then let it dry, and then during March and before the onset of the monsoons it is burnt. And on the very first rains the seeds are planted and then the production starts.
The first year provides a relatively good yield, but with each crop, the productivity decreases.
Generally, a good jum cycle is between 10 to 15 years. But here in Garo Hills, since the jum area is decreasing, they are juming the same area in a shorter term. So, if they jum the area in a shorter term, the yield is not much.
왜 제가 대와 아바디 송금간차 송금간차 송금먹차바 마이 못담에 탈거니 못담에 탈탐 못담데 탈독게 탈신바 놓고만디 방아 그리와야 근데 괜찮으면 이거 막나 형와야 왜냐면 그먹간 되게 방에 우주 괜찮으면 보롱보롱 와가지고 거라 왜냐면 그뭐 집어 walso 괜찮은데 다우다 또 마트랑 보내 takkan ba dong chom mocha 아르 지릉 집이 실까 블롱은 특방 많자 이거 전체 제가 다데 리잡도 나네 송금은 휘용한 미팅에 넌 만차적 가르다 시간에.
Change is coming to the people of the Garo Hills. They all have cell phones, and the transportation systems have improved somewhat. Electricity is promised at some point in the future. The modern world, with its shiny wrappers and promise of more stuff, beckons. But if the people go to town in search of a better life, they often only find that they don't have the skills needed to compete with the more sophisticated, better educated city people. This often means they end up taking the lowest forms of work, much worse off than they were at home.
mana tsinga nige ongen mana don thona de man jawa mana de niba don thong jawa a don thong agdan wa igino ta kha saimon asima government ba da chingni daka ko nikimang sanaba phal phiene sanaba chi sale sanaba bari bagan dake oni khasin onat ken chim ode namang igen ar khomiang igen mana angaba direct bonnan ange naba wa khoni don thona de man jawa niba na simangni dakchakani ko manode angaba bignang jawa government ba bignang jawa mana nama igen
지릉 지삼고 도나다니까 많이 대와 지사모사 미라코 와 고문다 잘lực 남만이 뭐가나 와랑오 방착기문 만디랑 지릉 지삼고스 강원인 아바차니금은 아바차바하 트레디셔널레 쟁원이 나고바니 아망 노니면 जातना सोना चिरिंग चिबिस्कित पानी खोन के अरे रंग खोन लेकिन अब चांग खोया ओदे चिरिंग चिबिस्क्रंग तुकेन अरो जमानो दिरंग शुद्रंग ना नामगनी दong jawa nimung mandang masiha
Because of the destructive nature of the traditional agricultural practices that threaten this precious ecosystem, there are many individuals and organizations interested in protecting the Garo Hills. The Meghalaya Forest Department, the Garo Hills Autonomous District Council, and the Wildlife Trust of India, known as WTI, with the support of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, are all working together with the local communities to find a sustainable way forward.
The people are already aware that zooming is no longer feasible because they have seen the production and they can hardly sustain their families. So they are already out for ways and means of other alternatives.
And there is an elephant in the room, as it were. Actually, there are approximately 1,300 elephants in the Garo Hills. When the elephants and the people come into conflict, it is no joke.
Azalgani cisa November ni cibri tarik prangni 4:30 bajion wa anda geba posta onga ndakimu biya gesaku watang naka angni mandeni bimengara thomali menga arowa acek jatna phathia gata prang 4:30 bajio angcia abachi ribachem uni somayo chaam geba rama ogrong imengna extend onga ha uko angni jakko sija anga uni siako dekrekna manfaja angni jekba nachel khennaja ani gemen ua tos light rangko thekngen jakhalska aro tos light rangko ua athangni jakol nasaan jakhalskaja ekbas ua ramarangchi jakasi jakra wa nate jakhalonga wan baksa ua mongmakho bia Adita pit cekeng cibongani andalna sekangan ko nekacem ndiba mamang dakiba wan wa mongmana bia khatna aro rede khana mansrapja direct nekanin bia reksrape repme uko gostape gajet chole.
As tragic as such encounters are, they don't come as a complete surprise.
Tengade wan thangnan nake burung samboro ani gemen tengara mongma apsan nake janggi thangani gemen tengara apsan mongmani daklani khoba nekaya tengaba burung baksa janggi thangoba tengaba kena janggi genang mija geta dokke galangode sotode
이드랑 버트 뭐 이 바로
Baba, itu kira Pak.
Karam keren. Keren ya hafiz kan. Mungmawan rekoma nak temu mungmar ko.
India has a population of 1 billion people, and there's a tremendous pressure on the elephant habitat and the corridors. This is the reason why there's an increase in the human-elephant conflict everywhere, and people retaliate to the elephants are very, very serious. sometimes they poison, sometimes they spear it, sometimes they shoot it. So in order to conserve the elephants, securing elephant corridors are one of the important priority under our project.
Given the lethal nature of some human-elephant encounters, the people's tolerance is remarkable.
On the whole in India there is great tolerance for animals, for wild animals, and elephant in particular. And as I told you, in the Garo Hills they have particular fondness for this animal, who they consider almost like an elder brother. You know, they refer to the animal in those terms that they would use for their own brother or elder in their family. So there is no doubt that there is frustration. I think it's more than frustration. Sometimes I'm sure anger, because there's huge amount of direct damage that the elephant is doing, whether it's crop damage or damaging their houses, or even killing people.
The land in the Garo Hills is now like a mosaic with patches of cultivation interrupting the closed canopy of the forest. Everyone wants to find a way forward that is good for the people and good for the animals.
We are working in close coordination with Wildlife Trust of India regarding the elephant projects. So our main idea is to create a corridor or a passage for elephants to traverse from one forested area to the next. So basically in between we have several villages and jhum plots. Whichever is the general path taken by the elephants, we try to secure these paths by having an agreement with the villagers, by creating such corridors as village reserved forests.
안탕 전체닉 때다데 볼 아거 빙도나 따보 차저 남바다 쯤니아데 아바 위 차오바도디 미미시 남자니면 2층 나선 남자니면 아바랑 쿠데 땀데 갈그 강아다 강이하 네 가신데 터미틱 보나가긴 건거데 아바 위 차니데 안데기시 전체야.
As human population has grown and pressure on the natural habitat has increased, it's become more and more urgent to find ways that both protect the needs of the people and preserve nature.
Over the years, what we find is that the people, the villagers, are so very eager to come forward in preserving their patch of land for conservation and for the elephants. And all they require is in turn some sort of incentive, and rightly so, because otherwise it would have been a jhum area which is productive for them. But they are giving a portion of their productive land for conservation works. So it's a great thing.
Aro chinga dura kalakko songni ya committee holo rijap ni kemen jin saro ya rijap ko dona ha sa songna ba pathatana manjawa aro ya ko dona ode dirang sudang mai ko donangen mai ko pengen chingya dokte chonogen goba masino wachim aro ya nakeno obong a mandirang ni kenani ba bong wa jukona wa rijap dona ode aba chathana de manjawa ya arang de government ni jawa anching songna noknan jatna songna rpungna khatepnan goba thala danirang ko nim
지금 장기 당안에 초랑데 마문 받은 자와 바나 마고는 스타포 도잉 바 바타 오피스장 오피스를 만들었다. 내가 말때 야간 배 책나 바 발발아야 나 심막나데 바르다 바 디블롭 카 하침 니바 나 심만 닥자 아니 바카다서 만해로 니바 안탐나 프로그램 책나 미롱 작품사나 나감 부하사나 디블롭 카 디치 책니 대단 자리 판자와
Without alternatives to the traditional agricultural practices, it is hard for the people to survive, let alone consider animal habitat or conserving natural ecosystems.
The location of this village is crucial because it links other chunks of forests with this major chunk biosphere reserve called Nokrek. So which is why this is not only important as a catchment, but also as a link to the biosphere reserve. It's a crucial corridor for the elephants.
Ndakaba 동겐 침 어디 ndakaba thanerang nong chung de bisongba ramatang khori geni anchia aro ndagen matburungrang ba kuban jilani rang ba jaman chen thing di rang sudang kang geni ma di chanchia
라수 낭비로 만약에 만나 인디아오 산웅자 인디아오 동 인디아니 아팔로 동급바 송랑바 안치는 닥착하니 거 온나 남면 구시 온뱅아 만나 비송 안치니 부릉 볼그랑나 구시 온차가 그번 아송랑오데 도망자죠 그번 비합랑오데 닉나 닉앙인조 안치나 비송 이게 구시 온차가 부릉장 시오 동인쿠 안치네 아로 안탕탕한 이롭바 이롭인쿠아
Actually, people around the world are depending on people like the Garo to protect their forests, because this is the best way to absorb carbon from the atmosphere and naturally regulate the Earth's hydrology, weather, and climate.
Reserve ko district ni forest ni agan thalatani ko maning chinga ye reserve ko donia adona chanchia aro chanchim ya meeting ko chukhwatang da songni nokni mandirang plakan aro chiring chibis ko reserve na dona nanga nim jinma namniki songmu nokmung khomongi nangrami kamko meeting ko chukhwatang da meeting ko kha
Kalake is not the only community that has decided to create village reserve forests. This project has already stimulated the creation of 9 reserves, and many more communities are now positively considering this option.
Mana yidi daugta chade abasanam plasm nemo yore daugta sa abara bam go버는가 chana nian yatengani chanchesum diba daura chingni nike chancheni khoras ko badade ribai government mandrang ba chingna aganda pis kitapen ani mundade haindaki ode an chene rijapton phuna nike donnanange nimu chade chanchidon projok mena an chingni ba namgine wa ar government ba namgine wa ar matburung na ba namgine wa mandina sanong jak kamak.
Although the communities are making decisions about their lands, they are receiving incentives to do so. These include capital investment and technical support.
Yan sarsa shua. Sarsa musia ndegen jibar singa yan hangden ndegi mana na yan. Sak sak po sarsa shua. Yak gumuk sing. Na sungne ndak khali mana dinna. Nimse dauta na sung ta WH ni ta ri bai mung. 나중 바가나 하윤이 그만한데 나중 고바 딱 잡고 보니면 아대야 가나 다었다 나중 딱 착적 맨아 아바위에는 데 벌식이니 벌식 타만만 갈라니 뭐 예디 차송니 갈라니 동자 만디 장게 타는데 바띠는 감이차나만 아니 그 남밭 그봉 와요 맨아 아바위 차데 몰라와 고선 위시안이션 옹아야 장기 탕나라 만자 벌식 먹중에 차나 만자 아랑신 우스통 아바따야 맨은 닥클라 브리크 먹고 아바위 바이다 와우 장기 탕나만 난 아바찬 닥플레 불시안티 위위바 마음 감사동전 디바 아팔 데 다우트 테신 다가고 감이찬 닝 탁나바 만바다 차나바 만바다 닝 느까니바 동자바다 연남 밭 그방어야.
The Wildlife Trust of India asked the local people what type of support they would like to receive. Sometimes this is very specific. The Aratika community asked for a motorboat.
Enake songmo kon namblongen namgene ongjok bisong yarengo ani daude si jokjan gemon khali ar teke si jus jakhlain kor yareng dongode bazal rang rioba songnokli mande sio saneba bia dongo ogmokna altwe jangi thanunga simen rang sauba salade salenga negemang angja songni nukri mandirang iri bajok bomo nina ba mahari tak barang warang tangka heno ba khapararo Harana salgaba de mija cement salgaba mangsan kwa. Changsa. Oba thangka mansan ko janga de.
People who have been living by slashing and burning the forest have limited employment skills. But one thing they can do is plant trees.
Sekarang kita disangku jemaah aku get ni bol sarang berana orang ketakna bikin merasa nya ada somai kita ripana somai kita ni taktelna kirang ge songi nukni manderang kak keparang mo singa ni ruk tu sa bol sarang kesekatang get ni kala aro badia bol ko berana nangai nang ko maksija ni bakba bol ko berando andita baju ni ge babu aran kita baju sini takna.
중미 예리 잡고 노면에 대 지마 안 보는 중미 리랑 수랑 이게 볼 이게 달달 보고랑고 묵저하 아로 리랑나 이게 아로 손로 먹는 금그리운겐 이니가 사야 리자 프로뽕아.
These forested areas are simply wonderful and open up the possibility of ecological tourism, which allow others to enjoy these beautiful areas and provide a potentially large alternative livelihood for forest communities. By voluntarily choosing to set aside land for village reserve forests, the Garo are doing something of immense value. They're helping to maintain elephant habitat and corridors, and they're ensuring that the water cycle is protected, reducing the threat of flooding and drought. And through photosynthesis, they're ensuring that carbon is being absorbed by the enormous amounts of vegetation that grow in the natural forests.
아기 시방어적 맛부르는 것 뜨고 마트랑 막 작은 루아니 동제적 우니 그러면 송한티안 담프락데 블리즈리잡 그 돈겐츠모레 뜨고 마트랑 바 루나 만나 알아 지 맛부르는 번에 탁나 만나 내가 아기시 보롱롱 괜찮대 바느루겐.
What sort of world do we want? Do we want clean water, clean air, to live in harmony with wildlife? If we do, we have to consider how to protect and conserve forests and how to support the livelihoods of those who live in and protect the forest.
아르 맛부릉바 리잡 동겐츠모 거데 아브리 보롱롱 겐츠모 거데 바느루겐 원 만디니 가마고 차이나 나게겐 만디니 도나고 차이나 나겐 니바 다우타 니게 리잡 동데 막크리랑 걸 금먹간 루이묵 비숑에 볼와 비티 금먹 차이릉이 루나 만기나다 우르동어샤 랑골동어샤 막크리동어샤 다우다 바르삭동어샤 마척동어샤 몽마동어샤 맛마부릉동어샤 물렁은 아송나 남그네와 은이 그만 야 맛부릉을 하거데 도나낭 춤었다 다데 금먹 지금간 야 나리 부끄러운 사용자 녹그레거 사용자 지 송놓고 먹은 동나낭아.
Many people may be talking about the need to take carbon out of the atmosphere, but the communities of the Garo Hills are actually doing it. This model, if applied by thousands and millions of villages around the world, could end deforestation and reverse the trend by restoring vast areas of degraded lands. The world needs to recognize that it is not the bankers, the politicians, or the carbon marketers who can physically mitigate and adapt the earth to climate changes. It is these people. Their contribution is of enormous value and needs to be celebrated, and they need to be supported.
Like